Welcome to Behind the Logics, the repository of knowledge. Hope you're all doing well. Today we will be discussing about Python functions. We'll be discussing in detail about what is a function and its types, function definition and function call, argument types, return values, scope and lifetime of variables, recursion and lambda function. Let's get started. A function is a block of code to perform a specific task which runs only when it is called. Functions make the program more organized and manageable. It avoids repetition of statements and makes the code reusable. You can pass data to a function as parameters. A function can return data as a result. There are two types of functions, built-in functions and user-defined functions. Hope you all remember the functions like print, type, append, sum. These predefined functions are called built-in functions. The next one is user-defined functions, which means that users define the function to perform specific operations, about which we are going to learn in detail now. On speaking about function definition, def keyword is used to define the function, followed by the function name with parenthesis and a colon at the end. One or more Python statements make a function body. These statements should have indentation, that is 4 spaces. Function definition should be present before the function call, else it will throw up an error. Now let's see an example for function definition and function call. Now I'm gonna type def my function parenthesis colon indentation print hello. Now I'm gonna call the function my function. Now let's run the code. We got the output. Perfect. Next, we'll see about argument types. Arguments are data passed to the function which are specified within the parenthesis. We can have as many arguments as we want, separated by a comma. In the above program, we have created a function with no arguments. Now, let's see a function that has one argument. The same program, I have given the value within the parenthesis as name and print hello from plus name. So I am calling the function my function btl team and run the code. We got the output as hello from btl team. Now we can call the function with different name, Hulk. So run the code. We'll get the output as hello from Hulk. Here, BTL team and Hulk are arguments passed to the function, which then concatenated with the string inside and printed the above output. Let's look into another example with two arguments. Now, let's define my function with greetings, name and colon, indentation print greetings plus, we'll give some space plus name, and let's call the function as my function hello Hulk. You will get the output as hello Hulk. Now the same program, but we will delete one argument and let's run the code and see what's happening. We'll get a type error. This is because while defining the function, we have given two arguments, but while calling the function, we have given only one argument. That's why it's throwing an error. Now, while defining the function, I'm going to give a value for the argument as name is equal to Hulk. And I'm going to call the function with only one argument. And I'm going to run the code. And let's see what's happening now. So now I'm calling the function with only one argument as hello, and I'm in the next line I'm calling the function as hey there. We can call the function as many times as we want. So let's see what's the output by running the code. we got it as hello Hulk, hey there. Here also we have sent only one argument, but it doesn't show any error. This is because of the default argument that we have passed during the function definition. If we call this function with two arguments, program will run as usual. On the other hand, if we pass one argument, it will take the second one as default. Now, let's see about arbitrary arguments. When you do not know the number of arguments that will be passed into your function, add an asterisk before the parameter name in the function definition. The function will receive a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Now, let's see an example for this. Define my function. As we don't know how many arguments are there, we will put an asterisk, names, colon, indentation, print the last name is plus names is 2. Now let's call the function my function. Let's give 3 names like a random names sk, mk, rk, and let's now run the code. The last name is rk. Now let's see about keyword arguments. We can send the arguments with key value syntax. Let's see an example for this. Define my function, name 3, name 2, name 1, and print the last name is plus name 3. And let's call the function as my function, name 1 is equal to sk, name 2 is equal to mk, name 3 is equal to rk. This is nothing but we are giving a key and a value for the key. Like in last video we have seen in the data type of dictionary. Now let's run the code and we got the output as the last name is rk. Now let's see about arbitrary keyword arguments. When you do not know the number of keyword arguments that will be passed on to your function, add a double asterisk before the parameter name in the function definition. The function will receive a dictionary of arguments and can access the items accordingly. Now let's see an example for this. Define my function within the parenthesis double asterisk names, as we don't know how many keyword arguments are there, and print the last name is plus names. Let's call the function now. Name 1 is equal to sk, name 2 is equal to mk, and let's now run the function, and we got the output as the last name is mk. Now let's see about the scope and lifetime of variables. Scope of a variable is the portion of a program where the variable is recognized. Parameters and variables defined inside a function are not visible from outside the function. Hence, they have a local scope. The lifetime of a variable is the period throughout which the variable exists in the memory. The lifetime of variables inside a function is as long as the function executes. They are destroyed once we return from the function. Hence, a function does not remember the value of a variable from its previous calls. Now let's see an example for this. Let's define the function. Define my function, parenthesis, colon, indentation, x is equal to 10, print value inside function, comma x. X is equal to 20. Let's call the function my function and print value outside function. Let's run the code. We got the output. Here we can see that the value of x is 20 initially. Even though while defining the function we have assigned the value of x as 10, it did not affect the value outside the function. This is because the variable x inside the function is different from the one outside. Although they have the same names, they are two different variables with different scopes. On the other hand, variables outside the function are visible from inside. They have a global scope. We can read these values from inside the function but cannot change them. In order to modify the value of variables outside the function, they must be declared as global variables using the keyword global. Now let's get to know about return values. The return statement is used to return a value. Using return, we can exit the function and go back to the place from where it is called. If there is no expression in the statement or the return statement itself is not present inside a function, then the function will return the none object. Now let's see an example for this with a factorial. Define factorial n, and if n is equal to 0, return 1. Else factorial is equal to 1, and we are using while statement here. Now let's print factorial of 6 is factorial num. Let's run the code. Factorial of 6 is 720. Perfect. Here, the factorial of a number is found and the final value has been returned to the function call. Now, let's see about recursion. Recursion means a function calls itself. This concept is not usually preferred because the excess amount of memory and processor power that is needed. However, when written correctly, recursion can be a very efficient and mathematically elegant approach to programming. Let's define the same factorial function with recursion concept. And let's run the code. And we got the factorial of 6 is 720. See, we have only one line in else function. While in return, we had 4 to 5 lines for the same factorial function. Now let's get to know about lambda function. Python lambda functions are anonymous functions that can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. Let's see an example for this. X is equal to lambda a. Colon a plus 10. This is the syntax. Let's print x 5 and run the code. We'll get the answer 5 plus 10, 15. And another one, print x 10 and run the code. 10 plus 10 is 20. Here we have defined a simple lambda expression in which the arguments passed to it is added to 10 and returned. Lambda functions are used when an anonymous function is required for a short period of time. And that's all for today's video. We hope that this video will be very useful for you. If so, please do subscribe to our channel and please press the notification button and bell icon so that you won't miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.